we'll put you through college, whatever you want to do, but this is going to be really hard on your body. It's going to be really hard emotionally. It's a little bit lonely." And I was like, "No, I want to do it." You can't go to college to be a horse trainer. You have to get that real world experience, and you have to work with people that understand how you understand things, that can teach you the way you can understand. Not everybody learns and teaches the same way, so sometimes you gotta move around a little bit to find that good fit. I find the horses started at Liberty are a lot more confident, once they understand that you are offering guidance, you're offering partnership, you're not trying to hurt them, the halter, all that other stuff comes really easy. She wants them as wild as possible. So most of the horses that I send over there, we maybe can touch them like right between their eyes from in front of them, but generally they're wild when they get there. So we get them halter broke, friendly at Liberty, halter broke, leading, loading, and tying. They learn verbal cues. I had a horse that I taught to target my hand. Like he was so afraid of everything that like he could focus on one thing at a time. So I taught him like to target my hand and I could move my hand and his head would go that way. So that was interesting. So it's they basically are just gentle enough that we can lead them onto a trailer, off the trailer into a barn, and then back onto the trailer to the airport into their little jet box containers. So it's 3 horses per container. When the trainers get them home in Germany, some of the trainers think they'll be able to get right up to them and pet them and touch them. No, they start over. A lot of these horses end up in just not good situations. If somebody doesn't care that they might end up in a kill pen or they might end up back in holding or they might end up in an abusive home, somebody has to care, somebody has to run in between for them. They're kind of a novelty there. The Europeans love the American West and John Wayne and wild horses. It's such a privilege to them to have one of our horses, and we've lost that here. It's our dime a dozen. If you don't like the one you have, just get another one. Like, it's so cool to work with people that really value them and see them the way that I see them. Um, I have always had a passion and a soft spot for our veterans. I think that they are underappreciated and they're not taken care of in our society. They're literally laying down their lives for our country and then ending up homeless and struggling with mental health and suicide. Um, we're a military family. We're 5 generations military, or 6 now, I think. Um, my dad's a veteran, my grandpa's a veteran. I've got brothers in the Army and the National Guard. We are a military family. We support our veterans. So I think that horses really make a difference in people's mental health. I've seen it in my life, and I don't have war trauma, but we all experience trauma in our lives, and horses can heal that. Horses can make a difference. Um,
There are healers on this planet with the power to soften the suffering of mankind, yet they have remained in the recesses of the world, abused, discarded, and labeled as trash. This is The Touch of a Mustang. I am your host, Shalise Clough, and I'm here to tell the story of wild horses, Mustangs, and the humans who are discovering and sharing their gifts while working to protect their well-being and preserve their spirit so this divine power won't be lost. Join us on this quest with the Wild Mustang.
Grace, thank you so much for being here at the Touch of a
yeah,
Mustang podcast.
thank you for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you and see what we get into today.
Absolutely. Can you give everyone that is in the audience right now a quick introduction of yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
I'm Grace Thompson. I am a 25-year-old colt starter and Mustang gentler. I'm based out of East Tennessee, and I work with mostly Mustangs, but also, quarters and other breeds. I've competed in Mustang Makeover since I was 17, I think. I did my first youth challenge and got hooked on that, did another youth challenge, and then went adult. I've worked for lots of incredible trainers who have poured into me and helped make me the horseman that I am today. Um, I work with some friends over in Europe who import the Mustangs for their own Mustang Makeover. So they do Mustang Makeover Germany. So I prepped those horses for their flight and their journey to Europe. So that's really, an interesting thing, and then I also, um, have worked in New Zealand with a Kelly Wilson.
Tell us about how you first got started or involved with horses. Where did that begin?
Yeah. So I, as a child, I wanted to train large marine life. I wanted to train orcas and dolphins and seals. It was so fascinating to me, the predator to predator communication. But as I grew older and we moved further and further away from where that would be realistic for me, I started exploring other options. And horses became the most viable large animal for me to work with. I knew nothing when I first started working with horses, like clueless, no idea how to do body language. I could barely ride. And we worked with a trainer who lived up the road and was like, like these kids, who taught us a lot of what we knew growing up. Um, and then they got Mustangs in for the Mustang Makeover, and I was so fascinated by him gentling these wild animals. Like they were totally wild. And I was like, I think I can do that. As a kid, I was like, I can do that. So they mentored
Yeah.
me through through my first makeover. They really it wouldn't have been possible without their mentorship. Because I really was starting from scratch. I read all the books that I could get my hands on, any DVDs, anything that I thought might help me understand what I was dealing with. Did my first makeover, totally loved it, had a great experience, wanted to do another one. And my mentor was like, okay, this one I think you should do kind of on your own to see where you're actually at. It was so hard without as much help. It really showed me that I didn't know a lot. I had a lot to learn. Um, but it was, again, a great experience, good time competing. I was approached by a couple of trainers at that challenge who asked if I would come work for them, and I had to pick one or the other, so I picked the other, and they mentored me through my first adult makeover. So even still up to that point, I was pretty like, just doing the best I could as a kid, learning anything that anybody would show me, riding with trainers that offered me a place, um, just trying to learn as I went, but I knew pretty quick off the bat that I wanted to do this as a career. So, it's I don't know, the Mustangs kinda just suck you in like that. Like, you do a couple, and then you just fall in love with the process, you fall in love with who you become through the process. As a teenager, I was very easily frustrated. I was a middle child, learning your place, finding your position, finding your voice. I feel like the Mustangs really helped me become who I am today. I think I would still be stuck in that, you know, frustrated teen phase if I hadn't have been pushed through by some incredible horses and even trainers as well.
Yeah, they are definitely good for helping you
Yeah.
see areas where you can improve in your
Yes,
life, that's for sure.
absolutely, absolutely.
Once you decided on horses versus marine life or other large mammals, did you ever look back, or was it something that
Oh
it just
gosh.
felt right to go with the horses?
I definitely feel like it just felt right. There's definitely, still, like, a place in my heart for large marine life. And I definitely see myself at some point, if an opportunity ever presented itself to do, like, an internship or learn more about those animals. I do have a soft side for wildlife. But I really never looked back. I'd never seen myself doing anything but working with horses and especially wild horses. That really meets a need for me to help these wild animals that have ended up in a situation they didn't choose, to get into a better situation. So I think that meets the need for me for helping our wildlife, even though they aren't classified as protected wildlife. Um, but yeah, I never really looked back. Once I like woke up one day and came downstairs and told my parents like I'm gonna be a horse trainer, like I'm gonna do it. And they were like, "Oh, please pick anything else. Like we'll put you through college, like whatever you want to do, but like this is going to be really hard on your body. It's going to be really hard emotionally. It's a little bit lonely." And I was like, "No, I want to do it. Like I'm doing it." And they supported me every day since. If I needed to be dropped off somewhere as a, high school kid, they would take me. If I wanted to do a clinic, my dad would take me to a clinic. If I needed to be hauled to a show, my mom would take me to a show. Like, they after that initial, like, "Are you sure?" They supported me all the way. So, yeah, I've
Yeah,
pretty
and
much
none of your family were horse
mm-mm.
people before
We
this? You
were
guys
first
just all
we were
jumped into it?
Yes, my sister and I, we rode growing up, but again, like, we were pretty ignorant. Like, we just rode for fun. Um, but yeah, we were first gen. Everybody kinda assumes that we were born into horses. We were not. We were raised around horses, but, like, my parents were absolutely not horse people. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think there's a misconception about there that
Oh,
out
yeah.
there that you kind of need to be born into it, and a lot of people got into it
Make their
as
way.
teenagers or adults. It's pretty cool.
Yes. Yes. It is incredible. You definitely have to kinda make your own way. I think even the people that are born into it have to make their own way, make their own name. Um, you know, so
Yeah. Once you decided, "I'm gonna do this as my profession, I'm all in," how did you start building on that? How did you start moving towards that?
so pretty quick, once I decided that's what I wanted to do, um, we invested in books and, DVD curriculum, that I studied myself, and then right after that is when I started with the trainer with my first Mustang. Um, I convinced my pa it took me a little while to convince my parents that a Mustang was the best route. They bought me a quarter horse, and I was like, "That's great," but I really I want a Mustang. Um,
Yeah.
so I prayed about this Mustang, like, very exact basically sent God a mail order of the exact horse I wanted, and I literally got that exact horse at pickup, once I convinced my parents. Um, so I worked with the first trainer for the first 2 Mustangs, and then I had the second trainer pick me up at the second makeover. They were like, we watched you compete the year before, we saw you compete this year. We really wanna you seem ambitious, we wanna help you." Which was just honestly them being very kind because I could barely ride. So I worked with them for 6 months or 5 months, and then pretty quick after that, I went to another trainer, to work on some, like, Liberty stuff. I was so fascinated by Liberty horsemanship because to me, that was the closest thing to, um, my understanding of, like, the marine life, like, the clicker training and the targeting and the marking. Um, it was the Liberty is the closest thing to that. So, I was always so fascinated by the Liberty. So I got in with some Liberty trainers as quick as I could. Um yeah, it's just kind of been like one person after the next that was willing to pour into a young kid. Um, so I've worked for a lot of trainers, and it's just kind of like that when you decide you can't go to college to be a horse trainer. You have to get that real world experience, and you have to work with people that understand how you understand things, that can teach you the way you can understand. Not everybody learns and teaches the same way, so sometimes you gotta move around a little bit to find that good fit. Um, so yeah, I just have since I got out of the youth competitors and into adult, I've always just, "Hey, can I come ride with you for a couple of weeks or a month or 6 months?" Whoever needed a little help. And it just kinda took off from there, so and I'm still learning, I still will go and, if somebody will call and be like, "Hey, I have a spot, do you wanna come ride?" Like, I throw a couple horses in the truck and go, um, because you always have to grab those learning opportunities when you can, so
Yeah. That's great advice for someone
yeah,
who's wanting to get into it from,
right,
not doing it at all, who just kind of
right,
fills that pool.
yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how your methods and your journey with Liberty have evolved over time.
Yeah, so I remember the first makeover that I went and watched, I didn't even know Liberty was a thing, and I was running an errand I was, like, grooming for a competitor. This was my very first experience, and I was running to grab something, and I heard them announce Double Dan Horsemanship in the arena, and I was like, "Oh, let me peek around the corner and see, like, these guys seem like a big deal. Let me see what's going on." And I'll never forget watching I don't remember which one it was, but one of them ran out into the arena bridleless and, like, did the sliding stop, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, like, that's incredible." And then the other one came out on foot doing Liberty with another horse. And I was so fascinated by the fact that they were performing in front of such a large crowd with no bridle, no halter, no lead rope. And I just remember being like, "Oh my goodness, like that I have to learn how to do that. That's so incredible." Um, and then the other people that inspired me through that are Stacey Westfall. Everybody's seen that freestyle of her coming out bareback and bridleless. And then Luke Gingrich, I'd found him around and seen him doing some, bareback and bridleless and Liberty, two jumping lead changes. And I was like, I have to understand that. So my first mentor at the time, Carrie, was like, "That's a lot of work. You're gonna have to be really dedicated. Here's some resources. Here's" like, she handed me 2 Liberty whips and was like, "If you can figure this out, like, I'll help you as much as I can." Um, so she really encouraged me to dive into that passion. It literally lit like fire in my soul. Um, and I've just been in love with Liberty ever since. So I studied all of Double Dan's material. I did clinics and I started working with I went out to work for Hannah Catalino to learn how to gentle horses at Liberty. So we gentled, I think, 10 wild horses at Liberty, which was remarkable because your timing has to be so on point because they can just leave anytime. But it's really cool to see that connection genuinely form versus putting a halter and lead rope on at pickup and just immediately starting that halter breaking process. It's so cool to see how the horses blossom from each perspective. Um, yeah, does that kinda answer the question? That's kinda how I got interested in Liberty. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, does that kinda
And that's really the methods that you use now in your own
Yeah,
organization?
so it just depends on what I'm doing. So I offer colt starting, tune-ups, and Mustang gentling. I try to use as much liberty as possible. Obviously, some trouble horses need, a clearer answer. I always say like a halter and lead rope is like asking them a question 1 out of 10. Starting them at liberty is more like asking a question 1 out of 100 or asking a number 1 out of 100. Give me a number 1 out of 100. They have a lot more wrong. They give you the wrong answer a lot more before they get the right answer, if that makes sense. Versus a halter, give me a number 1 out of 10, they're gonna figure out, "Oh, I should face up and walk that way," a lot sooner than at Liberty. But I find the horses started at Liberty are a lot more confident. They once they understand that you are offering guidance, you're offering partnership, you're not trying to hurt them, the halter, all that other stuff comes really easy. Um, so for my Germany project with these Mustangs, they all get started at Liberty because a lot of them come from bigger holding facilities, and they're genuinely terrified of people. When they get to me, they are so terrified of people, um, that I just stand in a corner and just, like, kinda work them with my body language, like, in a corner of the round pen. They're running, just really scared, and then over time, I get to where they can approach me, sometimes I can touch them. We can't actually halter them at Liberty. For this project, they have to be haltered from a chute, but they get to where they trust people a lot better than just run them through, put a halter on them, let's get them halter broke. Um, there's definitely a time and a place for that, and I'm not knocking people that do it that way, and sometimes we have to do it that way. Sometimes you have a horse that's injured or is gonna hurt themselves if they have too many options, but I prefer to give them I want them to choose to be on my team versus, "You have to do this right now." Um, and I most of my personal horses do some form of liberty. Um, they at least, like, understand, you can choose to come, you can choose to go. But yeah, I use it as much as possible because I just love the fruit of that in my horses.
Yeah,
So
that's great. And I think it's also a great point to just note that different things are gonna work in different situations depending on the
absolutely.
goals and needs,
Mhm.
and so it's important to not just get stuck on one avenue that
Yes.
everything else is wrong. There are a lot
Yes.
of good methods and ideas out there depending
Yes.
on what's needed between the horse and the person and the situation and all that.
Absolutely.
Tell us more about the, Mustang Makeover in Germany. I didn't even know that they did that, so that's really
Right.
interesting. So,
Yeah.
yeah, tell us kind of what you do and then where the horses go after they leave their time with you.
Yes. So I love this project. So 5 years ago, this is our 5th year doing it. 5 years ago, I had a BLM rep call me, and they were like, "Hey, we know this lady in Germany that imports Mustangs, and the person that was doing it for her just, like retired, and she's looking for somebody to replace her. Would that be something you're interested in?" And I was like, "Well, tell me, like, the details." And he was like, "Oh, you have 6 months and as many horses as you want to do and as much time if you need more than 6 months, that's great. They pay you just amazing, and they're gonna go to Europe, and it's gonna be great." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, 6 months, like, I can get them so gentle in 6 months. Give the lady my number." So she calls me, and she's like, "Yeah, this is what we need. You have 6 weeks, and we do 25 horses at a time." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
he said
geez.
6 months." And
Yeah,
she's like,
that is
"No,
not the same story.
it's not the same." She said, "No, it's 6 weeks." And they have to be at the time we were doing, like, the TIP program, which was the trainer incentive program, so we would get paid an incentive to halter break, pick up all 4 feet, lead, load, and tie the horses. So they were doing an international incentive where they could lead, load, tie. We didn't have to pick their feet up, they don't have to be touched. Um, so she wants them as wild as possible. So most of the horses that I send over there, we maybe can touch them like right between their eyes from in front of them, but generally they're wild when they get there. So we get them halter broke, friendly at liberty, halter broke, leading, loading, and tying. They learn verbal cues. I had a horse that I taught to target my hand. Like he was so afraid of everything that like he could focus on one thing at a time. So I taught him like to target my hand and I could move my hand and his head would go that way. So that was interesting. So it's they basically are just gentle enough that we can lead them onto a trailer, off the trailer into a barn, and then back onto the trailer to the airport into their little jet box containers. So it's 3 horses per container. So you load 1 horse on the left, 1 horse on the right, 1 horse in the middle. They get hay. I water them every 2 hours on the flight. And then they get to Frankfurt, Germany, and rest for the night, and then we load them into the trainers' trailers. When the trainers get them home in Germany, they're wild, like, some of the trainers think they'll be able to get right up to them and pet them and touch them. No, like, they're wild, they start over. Once you get the rope, you can lead them anywhere, they will follow you anywhere, but they're not friendly, if that makes sense. Um, and they want that accurate, like, wild horse challenge. So here we have the 100-day challenge, and our horses are wild when we start them, and we have to do all of the training. Obviously, they can't ship completely feral horses. They do have to be somewhat manageable. But they get them over there and let them sit for 2 days, like, they're pretty feral. So they get this year, they have, I think, almost 6 months. Usually, it's more like 4 to get them gentle, ride them, show them. They do a lot of liberty there. Um, Liberty's really big in Europe. Um, so their challenges are always, like, the stuff they get their horses doing is amazing, and we send a lot of really difficult horses there. Um, we've worked with a lot of kill pen horses, a lot of, like, long-term holding horses, last strike horses, um, horses that trainers here have deemed worthless, and will never be worth anything or dangerous or difficult. They find a place there, and because they do so much liberty, I think their approach is so much more slow and gentle. Those horses thrive. So we send as many as we can physically fly. We send over there because they have such a better life, I think. Like, they get a second chance. They get to try again. And they deserve that. Some of these horses, it's not their fault that they're difficult. They've been gathered up, separated from their families, sitting and holding, worked and holding, passed around once they've been adopted. Some of these horses really have had a hard life before they're ever even gentled. Um, so I think to me, it's important to get as many in good homes as possible, like good permanent homes. They deserve that. Um, so my contact over there, Silky, does a great job making sure these horses end up in the best case scenario. She always knows where they are. If the owners have to sell them, she gets them back and finds them a good home. Like, these horses don't slip through the cracks in Europe. So to me, it's important when people call me and say, "Hey, I have this horse that's difficult." I'm like, "Just bring it. Just bring it to me." Like, I'll work with it and help it find a good home. Um, because a lot of these horses end up in just not good situations. If somebody doesn't care that they might end up in a kill pen, or they might end up back in holding, or they might end up in an abusive home, somebody has to care. Somebody has to kinda run in between for them. So, thankfully, we have an avenue to move these horses to safe, good homes. So, that's kind of the long spiel and both sides of it. We do the makeover horses, and then we do private home horses. Um, so some of those kill pen horses, those tougher horses, they go to private homes, or they go to trainers over there who train them, and then they go to private homes. But all of the horses for her makeover event are straight from holding, like, haven't been handled. They all have the same level of handling. Um, they're gentled by us here at Get Horsemanship, and then they go straight to the trainers in Europe. So that's kind of the long spiel of it. But yeah, it's an incredible program. I love working with them. I think their mission is so powerful and important, and it brings so much awareness to our horses here. They're kind of a novelty there. The Europeans love the American West and John Wayne and wild horses, and it's such a privilege to them to have one of our horses, and that I think we've lost that here. It's become such a they're a dime a dozen. If you don't like the one you have, just get another one, like, so I think it's so cool to work with people that really value them and see them the way that I see them. So, yeah, it's an amazing program.
Yeah, that is incredible. It sounds like a really
Yeah,
great program, and
it
especially to be
is.
able to get those difficult horses that probably, yeah, would just end up crossing the border here and
Right,
not having a good
right.
life one way or the
Yes,
other.
yes,
That is amazing. Um, and also how cool that there's a demand there, that people do
yes,
value them because, like
yes,
you say, here they're just so easily accessible, so easily
yes,
disposable that they
yes,
really have lost that value. That is really cool. I think that has probably some elements that other programs could follow to maybe help
yes,
more horses. So I love that.
yeah.
Tell us about your time in New Zealand.
Oh, wow, that was so much fun. So again, Um, people always it's so funny. My life is insane. People always ask me, "Are you home?" Because 'Cause I'm very rarely home. I'm always doing some just wild escapade. So this was similar. I had one of the girls that used to work for me. She called me one night and she's like, "Hey, I had this incredible opportunity and I just don't think I'm gonna take it." I'm like, "Well, tell me what it is. Like, she's young, you should go do things." I'm big on if you have the opportunity, take it. And she's like, "Well, Kelly Wilson called me personally." She called her personally and asked me to come to
Wow.
New Zealand. Yeah, to gentle their wild Kaimanawa horses. And she's like, I don't think I wanna go." And I'm like, "Back up. Like, the Kelly Wilson called you and asked you to come over and learn from her and gentle their wild, like, that is an incredible experience, you should do it." And she's like, "I don't wanna be that far away from home. You should do it." And I was like, "Give her my number, I will do it." Like, but she doesn't know me. She'd worked with this girl here in the States and knew her personally. So I didn't think I was like, "She's not gonna call me, she doesn't know anything about me." Well, she
Mhm.
called me about a week later, and she was like, "Hey, like, I've heard really nice things about you, and I need help. Would you be interested in coming to New Zealand for 3 months?" And I was like, "Yes, like, absolutely, I'm coming." So I booked flights, like, that night. Um, I was finishing up my Germany horse project last year. So I booked flights and didn't really think about, like, you know, I thought about, like, "Oh, it'll be so cool," and all this stuff. Well, I land in Auckland and realize I don't actually know these people. this random person I've never met is picking me up. It's like 3.5 hours drive with this random person I've never met. It was such a crazy experience. The girl that picked me up ended up being, like, one of my best friends. Um, Kelly is amazing. Like, she's such a phenomenal teacher and listener and learner of the horse. It's always the horse first. You work for so many people that it's their image first or their profit first or their, what's in it for them first. It's so rare to work for people where the horse is actually first. Kelly is so passionate about saving these horses. So their wild horses have no natural predators. They are the biggest animal on their like rangelands. They overpopulate really quickly. They have, I think they can only sustain, I think, 200 wild horses. So every year they have to gather at least 100 horses. Um,
Wow.
they're ponies, they're not like at least our Mustangs are big and stocky. These are ponies, like, they're very, like, sporty, like, people use them for, English sports, but they're pony sized. So the demand for them is not very big. So Kelly will go and she'll go to the roundup and she'll pick horses that she has documented. Some of them she's documented from birth. She goes out into the ranges and photographs them and writes their stories. So she'll pull as many horses as she can that have homes already. Like, this person promised to adopt a 3-year-old stallion. This person said they would adopt a mare foal. This person said they would adopt a 10 plus stallion. And she'll pull those horses from the roundup. The rest of the horses go straight to slaughter. They do not have any
Mm,
kind of government incentive to protect the horses or house the horses. They literally, Kelly goes and picks what she can take, and the rest go straight to slaughter. So they are working to eliminate that as an option. Their government just honestly cannot sustain housing them like we can. But it's so sad to see these ponies go straight to slaughter. So Kelly last year pulled
yeah.
100 horses from the catch pens and helped 100 horses find homes. So I
Wow.
think she and her team personally did 80, and then other trainers around the country did the other 20, 25. Um, so it's really an incredible, her program is remarkable. The horses come straight from the roundup, so they're on the ranges into stockyards, sorted, put on her truck, and in her stockyards in like 24 hours. It's a really quick turnaround. She lets them sit for a day or two, and then we started gentling them. So she has like a 6 weeks from when they're gathered to when they're in loving homes. So we start them at liberty, like, we teach them, to face up, to come to us. We teach them to be touched with the whip, prepare them for the halter. They learned how to cross obstacles at liberty. Um, we were catching them in fields, like, with hot wire in 3 weeks from being completely wild. We were turning them out with their friends,
Wow.
catching them in hot wire. Like, some of them took longer to learn the process, but once they have it, like, they always can fall back on it. Um, I think I personally did 8 horses, but I helped gentle a couple of the other girls' horses as well. Some of them took a couple of us. They were just really feral, really untrusting. Some of they're not like the Mustangs come from herd management areas. They don't call it that. It's like, but it's the same thing. So you have horses that were used to seeing people, really gentle, don't mind people, and then you had horses that were from, like, a military testing site, and they were super sensitive to noise, seeing people, like, every morning, it was, like, the first time they'd ever seen people. If you drop something and it clicked, like, they would that whole all the horses from that area would just start take off running. Um,
Yeah.
so it was interesting to see how the horses from each area reacted to the same exact process. Some took a really, really long time. One of my stallions took, I think, 3 weeks before I got a first touch. And then he became a little bit aggressive, like, he would come into my space really harshly. And I was like, "I just don't think I'm gonna get him haltered at liberty, like, I think he's going to bite me or attack me, or be scared," and she's like, "You can do it, like, just keep trying, you'll get it." I was like, "Okay," and I eventually, with lots of help and encouragement, did get him haltered, and I was so sad to leave him. We had such an incredible connection by the time I did get him haltered. It was so powerful to see those horses choose us every day versus, like I said earlier, getting halters on them right away and kinda, like, manhandling them into, domestic life. These horses came willingly. Some of them came within the first few days, some of them it took 3 weeks before we could touch them. Um, but it was such a unique experience, and it's the style of horsemanship's so different there. Very European, like, a lot of liberty, very English, which was different for me. I'm very much a Western girl. Um, but I got to dabble in some jumping. By the time I left there, I was jumping a cross country course bridleless on one of Kelly's horses. So it was such a, like, well-rounded, unique experience, and most all of it was at Liberty, which was, like, so inspiring to me. I've always had this, like, in the back of my head, like, is there a better way we can do horses? Is there a softer way? Is there a more emotional connection type way we can do horses without allowing our horses to be pushy and walk all over us and take advantage of us.
Mm,
There's
yeah.
a fine line with that, liberty. We want to be kind. We want to, if you don't mind, would you please? But also, there still has to be boundaries. We are still people and they are horses. They can't treat us like herd mates. Though we all want that, you know, spirit, wild horse, wild stallion connection, with our horses. But finding that middle ground has always been in the back of my mind. Like there's gotta be a way. So I feel like Kelly kind of showed me the way. It was really an emotional experience for me. I think probably once a week I would have to like walk out of the pen and go cry. Like, I wish I'd known this 5 years ago. I wish I'd known that I could make this an option for my horses. So I think as young people, we experiment and try so many things trying to find the right way. And then one day the right way finds you. Um, so it was such a life-changing experience for me. It changed the way I see people, it changed the way I see horses. Um, and it just reminded and encouraged me that there is always another way. Even if it doesn't feel like there's a right, another way, there is always another way. You have to just keep looking and decide how important it is to you to find the right way. So it was important to me, and the right way did find me. Um, so yeah, I don't remember where I was
Yeah.
going with that. I kind of got
What
off
an
on a
amazing
tangent.
opportunity to
It was so
land in your
cool.
lap.
Yes, and it was interesting. So I was there for 3 months, and I think it was 5 days before I was supposed to come home. And Kelly had injured herself. She was supposed to do a demo with Dan Steers of Double Dan Horsemanship, which was so ironic. She had a Liberty demo with one of her personal horses, and he was going to ride a horse and she was going to do in hand Liberty. And she injured herself, and she's like, "I just don't know, like, I hate to let Dan down. This is, like, our biggest performance of the year. It's at a big equine festival." It's their biggest, like, equine festival in New Zealand, and Dan was coming from the Liberty, festival in the States, so he was coming back home, but he's like, "I'll just come by and do the equine festival in New Zealand as well." So, she injured herself, and we were all sitting in the kitchen one night, and she's like, "I just don't know who's gonna do this demo with Dan. Like, I'm injured, like, somebody has to do it." And none of the other girls there said a peep. They were all just like, "We don't wanna do it." And I was like, I will do it. That would be a dream come true for me if I got to work with, like, Dan Steers of Double Dan Horsemanship. So I extended my stay for another month and worked with her Liberty horse, Dallas, and got to learn a lot more, like, performance Liberty stuff. So we'd just been gentling the wild horses. So that last month I was there was when I got to work on some jumping, did the jumping bridleless, and worked with Dallas and learned a lot of the more performance horse stuff. So that was such, like, the privilege of my life to be able to perform at the biggest equine festival in New Zealand with one of my, like, childhood role models, like, inspirations. It was such a cool experience. So that was kind of the icing on the cake for that. My time in New Zealand, it was a lot of hard work, a lot of learning. it was like learning a foreign language, learning how Kelly teaches these horses. Um, but that was like the icing on the cake. So yeah, phenomenal, phenomenal trip. And it really has changed how I do horses now. So,
What are some of the most notable lessons you've taken away from your time in New Zealand and or working with the Mustangs that go over to Germany that you've maybe
oh
integrated
gosh,
into what you do now?
probably the most, oh, it's so hard to pick one, but definitely like it
Or a
takes the
couple?
time it, yeah, one of them for sure is it takes the time it takes. Um, People, children, dogs, cats, horses, orca whales, they all learn in their own way. I think a lot of people get hung up on this is this is the way, this is my method, this is the only way to do horses. Um, Everybody learns different. If we get so hung up on like copy paste, I do it this way every single time, we miss out on the opportunities that horses have to teach us something different, either about ourselves or about training or about the tools you have. Like every horse has something to teach you. And I think it's so sad when people get hung up on, well, I know everything and this is the best way to do it. Okay, maybe for like 75% of horses, that's the best way to do it. But what about the other, 25%? What about those horses? Who is making sure they have the best experience? Who's making sure they are taken care of? Who's making sure they learn? And those 25% of horses get deemed dangerous or untrainable or unlovable, and then they end up in bad situations. So I think being open to learning the way the horse needs to be taught. Like Kelly said it best, if you've trained one wild horse, you've trained one wild horse. If you've trained 100 wild horses, you've trained one wild horse. Like every horse is so unique, and should be treated like a unique individual and not like one more notch in my belt. Oh, well, I've trained 101 horses. Like I'm so talented. No, it's just like you've done one horse. Um, so that's been a really impactful thing. Like never go into it like you're just gonna go in there and like smack out your program. Like you can definitely have a plan, definitely have an idea. Never have an agenda. If you think that you're gonna go in there and just slap your agenda on a horse, they're gonna slap you with their agenda, and it's not gonna be
Mhm.
what you're hoping for. So that's definitely one. And the other one I think is being patient with yourself and the learning process. I think a lot of young trainers, I grew up, some of my very best friends I met at my very first makeover, and I have had the privilege of watching all of us grow up in the horse world. Um, Being patient with the process. Like when I look back at videos from a few years ago, I'm like, who let me show that horse? Like that looks horrendous. Like, but in my mind, that was the best I could do at the time. The most, that was all the information I had. Um, but you have to be patient with yourself. We are always learning and evolving and growing. You have to just trust the process. The horses are the same way. They don't know. You have to be patient with the fact that they were wild stallions 2 weeks ago. They were wild stallions with herds and families and babies and protecting from predators. And now we're trying to gentle them and get them to cross, you know, weird obstacles, and they're in weird footing and they're learning. Like you can't rush the process, whether it's emotionally, in your life, in your career. You have to just take it one step at a time. Um, and I think, again, as a teenager, I was really rushy and impatient and easily frustrated by life. I didn't have a lot of direction, didn't really have a passion. And then one day a passion lit, but it's one step at a time. You can't jump to the end goal. I'm still working towards where I want to be, but it takes all the steps in between to get there. So I think my biggest thing is like just trust the process. Be patient with yourself. You're still learning. Um, and it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to not know what two steps ahead looks like. You just have to take the step in front of you. Um, so I think that's my biggest motto in life is just trust the process. Like you're gonna get where you're going. Nothing's gonna keep you from who you're meant to be except for yourself. As long as you keep putting one foot in front of the next, like, you're gonna get there. Um, so yeah, I feel like there's so much to I've learned so much from horses, but that's definitely the biggest one for me, is just be patient. So,
Yeah, and I think your life kind of speaks to that, the way these opportunities, you took the
yeah,
action for it and then these new
right,
opportunities would
right,
present themselves, so that's really neat.
absolutely. Yeah, I think good things come to those who wait. That is a very true statement. Um, and trusting the process, if you can just relax and take one step at a time, the process that unfolds is beautiful. The things that come from struggling, the things that come from not understanding and working through learning how to do something new is beautiful. Um, so yeah, I'm a big believer in just let things happen the way they're supposed to happen and good things will come to you. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great advice too, because a lot of frustration and even giving up comes when you're kind of in the middle of that
Yes.
learning process
Yes.
because we are so focused on the end goal instead of kind of
Yes.
seeing the benefit of the moments that we're in right there
Right.
and how great it can be. Yeah.
Well, and it's hard again as young trainers. I see a lot of young trainers throw themselves into a learning opportunity, just throw themselves in it all the way. And like we talked about earlier, sometimes it's not a perfect fit. You can't let that discourage you. It's okay to remove yourself from a situation that's not helping you thrive and put yourself in a situation that might be better. Sometimes you got to tough it out and do hard things, but at the end of the day, if you're not growing, if you're not thriving, if you're not being nurtured and um, put in an environment where you can grow, it's okay to remove yourself and put yourself in a different environment that might be healthier for you. A lot of young people take the first opportunity that comes and tough it out until they're like, I'm gonna like just muscle through this. You shouldn't have to muscle through it. It might be hard, it might grow you, but you shouldn't outright suffer, if that makes sense. You should not be in a situation with a trainer that is abusing your willingness to learn. Um, so yeah, but that's that's a tough place to be in too. So
Yeah, that is good insights, I think, for horses and for people that
yeah,
it would be a lot easier if there was always one answer and that was the right answer and we just knew that's the way to
right,
go. But it
right.
really is more a process of filling it out as you go and kind of
Yes,
gaining that understanding and getting those insights along the way, which is
yes,
what makes it so tricky and frustrating sometimes, but definitely better if you can be open to that.
yes, yep.
Tell us a little bit about your cult starting.
Oh, wow, that was fun. So, again, same thing. I have opportunities fall in my lap all the time that I'm like, "Oh, I've never done that before," but yes, I always say yes. Um, so I was doing a Liberty demo, like a bareback and bridleless demo at the Southern Equine Expo. I did the demo 2 years in a row, and people always came up to me and they were like, "We love the way you teach. We love the way you talk about your journey and your process, and you're such a great teacher. Like, we would love to see you do something bigger." I was always in, like, a small pen, in the back, which was fine. I was young, had no business in front of a big crowd. And the man that runs the Southern Equine Expo, like, caught me in passing one day, and he was like, "Hey, like, I'm hearing great things about your demos. People really like you. Would you be interested in doing the colt-starting challenge that we have here?" And I was like, "Yeah, like, sure, like, I have know nothing about that. Like, I colt start for the public, but, like, I'm not really that good." And he's like, "You'll figure it out. Like, just say yes." And I was like, "Yes, I'll do it. Like, send me the info. I'll do it." So I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I have to actually, like, I'm very competitive. I don't wanna get, like, last. Like, there's 3 of us. I need to be at least 2nd. Like, I don't have to win it. I'm probably not gonna win it. I don't know anything about this, that I'm gonna try." So I was working with Ginger Duke and Kevin Graham at the time, and I was like, "I need help. Like, you guys have like, what do I do?" Kevin had worked with I think he's done some colt starting in the past competitively, and he's like, "I'll help you, like, make a process, kinda a guideline. Obviously, you're gonna have to be flexible." So they had a bunch of colts sitting in the backfield. We'd go out every day, and I'd, like, catch whichever one came up to me, and we'd take it up, and we'd work through he'd start the timer, we'd work through a process, and then write down, like, "How did that go?" You know, "I got hung up on this one thing that took up way too much time. I don't have time for that in a colt starting challenge." Um, so the challenge at Southern Equine Expo is a little different than Road to the Horse. We have, I think, 3-hour-long sessions, and then we have 1 hour and a half session, and then one 45-minute session. So that sounds like a lot of time, but it's really not. By the 4th session, we have to be riding out of the round pen with the other 2 competitors, and we have to pen cattle. And then the 5th session, we have 45 minutes to get through all the obstacles. Um, so it's a lot to get done in those sessions. So Kevin and I would, we'd pull a colt up, work on, you gotta get her saddled and maybe step up and off of her in the first session. So we got it nailed down to where every time I pulled up a horse, the first hour I could get it saddled and get on it. And so I was like, "That's good." And then we would work on the next phase of that, which was making sure, can she drag obstacles? Does it cross obstacles the first time I ask? How do I make sure that I'm asking in a nice enough way that she's like, "Oh, I'm happy to do that for you." So I worked with all fillies, and then, of course, we get to the challenge, and I get a gelding. I draw a gelding. And I'm like, "Oh, no." Like, usually it's mares, like, um so the gelding I drew was super kind, super curious, like, really wanted to please, and he was like, "Yeah, I could do that one time." He would only do stuff one time, and then he's like, "I don't wanna do it again." So anytime I'd ask the 2nd or 3rd time, it was really a challenge. He was really like, I did it the first time really good. I don't wanna do it again." So we knew going into the final round, I would have to pretty much go through the obstacles and get it right the first time. So you have to in that final round, you have to go over the obstacles and "I declare I'm doing the bridge. I declare the tarp," you know? When you say "I declare," that's when they score you. So Kevin was like, "I think you need to just go through and declare each obstacle the first time you do it. Just, like, point him at it. If you know he's gonna go, just 'I declare,' and do it." And, it was so funny because the judges, when they came up and talked to me after, they were like, "We have never seen anybody just go through and declare the obstacles the first time and, like, actually do well." And he did everything. He did all the obstacles, like, with just, point him at it, and he would just do 'em, like, it was flawless. It was so, so well done. But that was just the kinda horse he was. He was just really willing the first time. So that was great. Um, but yeah, the other it was such a learning opportunity because, again, I was colt starting, I'd been colt starting for a couple of years, but doing it under that much pressure and you have the other competitors around, you're really just trying to pay attention to what you're doing. But then, like, the one girl, her horse was bucking and going crazy, and I'm like, "Oh, just focus, like, you don't have that much time, like, you can't stop and watch, like, you gotta do your thing." Um, but anyway, it was such an interesting experience. I ended up winning it, which was just, like, pure luck, and definitely having Cavan help me. Cavan was my pen wrangler. He really just knows me well enough to know, "Hey, you need to step back for a second and just take a breath, like, you're getting a little anxious, you're getting a little rushed, like, you need to just walk out of the pen for a few minutes and give him a break." Or, "You've spent too much time on that, move on to the next thing." He really helps me stay on track, which is half the battle in a colt starting challenge. Um, he ended up his girlfriend got invited the next year to compete, and she won it as well. So, Cavan definitely has a knack for the pen wrangling, but
He's a good
it was
coach, huh?
yeah, he's amazing. They've been such an inspiration to me in my whole journey. They've helped me with a lot of Mustangs. They're incredible people. But, yeah, so it was definitely a learning curve for me. Colt starting on your own, you take as much time as you need. You can do short sessions. You can, really customize it to what the horse needs. In this setting, like, you only have the time you have, and you have to get stuff done. But you can't push them too far because 'cause they're babies and you only have so much time. Like, you have to really keep things super interesting and interactive. Um, but I loved it. I would definitely do one again. I love the pressure of competing. Once I enter the arena, I really like lock into what I'm doing. Before I'm usually a wreck, and then once I enter the pen, you just lock in on what you're doing. Um, but yeah, it was such a incredible learning opportunity to see how horses learn and process under that much pressure. Most of the stuff I do, I try to do it like, take your time, as much time as you need to cross that bridge, like, I have all day, like, I am in no hurry, and this time I was like, I need you to do it pretty quick, like, I need you to get it done." So it was interesting to see how you could apply pressure, but still be kind and considerate to the fact that he'd never seen a bridge before in his life. He's been out in the fields his whole life, never seen a tarp before, he needs a minute to think about that. Um, that really helped me learn and change. I changed a lot of things in my program after that, learning opportunity with Kevin, and then through the competition, I changed a lot of things in my program. Um, so yeah, it was such a cool opportunity. But yeah.
Was it hard at all to balance the well-being of the horse with the competition and the
Yes,
timeline?
yes. So, thankfully, I had a horse that was, um, like, really curious about me, really curious about, people in the stands, like, the clapping never bothered him, the pressure didn't really seem to bother him. The biggest struggle we had was he was kind of a one and done, um, so finding that balance of not letting him say, "No, I'm not doing that," but also not getting into a big fight with him. They just don't have the mental capacity to process being in trouble in that short of a timeline. Like, if you had to get onto one for something, they didn't it's hard for them to recover, if that makes sense. If they, buck or something, mine didn't buck, but I've seen other competitors' horses buck. Normally, you would kinda correct that at home, but in that setting, you can't make it a big deal or they will buck every time. You put a saddle on them, they'll buck every time you get on them. Um so it is hard to process what is important for this situation and what is not important for right now. Like, we had to prepare them to do obstacles and pen cattle in front of people and with other horses in 3 sessions. So, it's important that you get on them as quick as you can. But it's also important you don't get on them too soon and make them buck. So, it was so hard to and you're preparing them to go straight into a new home. My horse was sold within the first round, somebody went up and bought my horse. My horse got sold immediately. He's going straight into a new home. No idea what kind of home he's gonna get. How can I make sure that he's prepared to not hurt these people when he gets home, or that he's not gonna be scared of the saddle if they wait a week and pull the saddle out a week later? Um, so covering your basis, like, he was really confident with the saddle. I could confidently pick his feet up. He was easy to catch after the first time. Stuff like that. Like, what's more important, winning the challenge or making a horse that's gonna be successful later in life? And that's a hard thing as a competitor to decide. Um, but thankfully, I was gifted the ability to be able to do both. I had a horse that could handle the pressure and took things in stride and was gonna be a good citizen after, and I won the challenge on him as well. So it was I thankfully didn't have to, like, make a choice. I've seen competitors have to, like, sacrifice the competition to make sure their horse didn't have a horrible experience. Um, but I thankfully had a really cool little horse that was, like, willing to try. So, yeah.
Nice. Tell us now about what you are now doing with Get Horsemanship and your approach and all those things.
Yeah, so I think through the past, we'll say, couple of years experience, um, I'm finding that it's okay to just take things slower. I think Clinton Anderson said it, be as soft as possible, but as firm as necessary. My horses that leave my program are generally, will respond off of as little pressure as possible, but also know there's a consequence, for bad behavior. Like, I don't, it's so hard in the liberty world to find a balance between being you do you if you would like to, if you don't mind, could we please? And no, this is a boundary. You have to do this today. Like
Yeah.
I always tell people if there was an emergency, like I have a lot of people that come to me that want to do Liberty. They want that warm fuzzy, they want that wild stallion of the Cimarron connection. Um, but if there's an emergency, if your barn's on fire, are you gonna go in there and be like, "If you please, will you please come and get in the trailer?" Um, like, hurry. They no, they have to understand that if you amp the pressure up, if you ask something, if you demand something right now, they have to be like, "Okay, like, I trust you. We have a good enough partnership that I'll do it." Um, so I think finding that balance of offering as much liberty as I can, but also making sure that these horses are safe. If something ever happens to me, my personal horses can have normal lives too. My Liberty team can go and be, saddle horses or pack horses or mounted shooting horses. We do some mounted shooting stuff. Um, I always try to prepare my personal horses to have other careers outside of being Liberty horses or being, you know, whatever I do. They can do other things too. So my program is I like to say that I'm versatile. A lot of horses that come through my program can be road bridleless by the time they leave. They can do obstacles, they can do trails. We've worked colts off of them, we've worked cows off of them. They go home with like a well-rounded experience. So I always tell people when they want to send a horse to me, I'm going to take as long as it takes. Like, it might take 6 months, it might take a year, it might take a month. I don't know. I'm gonna take as long as it takes for your horse to learn my process. And everybody wants something different. Some people just wanna know that their wild Mustang can be caught in a big pen, pick up all 4 feet, load in a trailer, and they wanna do the rest. Some people want um, a seasoned trail horse when it comes home. Everybody wants something different, but I always tell people it takes as much time as it takes. I'm gonna try to do this with as much compliance from your horse as I can. I don't like to force horses into situations. Even with the Germany horses, excuse me, even with the Germany horses, I take as much time as it takes. And if they're not ready to get on that plane and go to Europe, they don't go. We do not force them into that situation. If they can't handle the pressure, if they can't handle the stress, if they don't eat when they're under stress, if they don't drink water under stress, I will not put them in an environment that's that stressful, if that makes sense. Um, they stay here and continue training or get adopted out to someone else or however they need to go. Um, so I would just say through the last 2 years, my approach has become a little bit softer and more understanding. I think as young people, there's a lot of pressure to just get it done. Get that horse rode. Even if he bucks, you better get on him and ride him and get him broke in 90 days because that client wants him back broke in 90 days. And now I'm like, it might take more time than that. I am not if I think he's gonna buck, I'm not gonna get on him. He's not ready. If he's bucking, that is a fear response or a trauma response, or he's in pain. I'm not gonna ride him through that. I'm going to find a solution for him. If he's bucking, he's not ready for me to get on his back. If he's, running through the halter, he doesn't trust people. He's worried about the halter. He's worried about being that close to people. Whatever that looks like, every horse is different. Um, so just taking the time it takes to find a solution per horse. I have always reminded myself that I don't wanna ever deliver a copy paste, "This is the get horsemanship method. This is how you're gonna train your horse." No, we have lots of options to train your horse. Whatever I have this whole playbook of options for your horse. Whatever works best for him is what I'll do. Um, so that's kind of where my program is at right now. I'm still learning things and building things into my program, but I try to do what fits your horse best. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great, and it's nice to see more and more trainers kinda get
Yeah.
to that point where time is gonna be based on the needs of the horse rather than the human timeline,
Right.
and I think as more
Yes.
trainers do that, that's what's gonna be accepted more in the horse
Right.
community, so I do think that's really good because, yeah,
Yes.
90 days is not gonna be the same for every horse.
Absolutely. And especially I feel like liberty is starting to take root here in the States. That's been very European, and, like, in New Zealand, it's really big. It's really starting to take root here. I think in the future, that's gonna be, the standard for horsemanship is going to be liberty. I think that's in the best interest of the horse if done properly. I think people can make little monsters doing liberty and trick training and target training. It has to be done correctly, but I think in the future, that will be the standard of horsemanship. Um, it's exciting to see that really start to take off here in the States, with the Liberty Horsemanship, or the Liberty Horse Festival and the competitions, the Liberty Horse competition, and more people wanting to gentle wild horses at Liberty. It's going to take over at some point, and that's exciting. Because that means that our understanding of horses and horsemanship has gotten that deep versus just being ignorant and manhandling horses into situations. So I'm excited to see that kind of take root here in the States. So
Yeah, it is great. And I think the more aware we are that there needs to be a balance, I think it can be
yeah,
really easy to lean one way or the other, to just
yes,
be always soft and give the horse whatever they want. And then they can often
right,
become dangerous or pushy or not
yes,
listen,
yes,
unless you're catering to them the whole time versus,
yes,
you being the boss. It's really great to see that partnership building between horse and human and that you guys are working
yes,
together for the
yes,
benefit of both. So I love that that's growing as well.
absolutely.
Um, so we were brought together from the Horses for Mental Health campaign. So talk
Right?
a little bit about working with Samson's Strength Sustainable Veterans Project and the work that you're
Yeah.
doing with them.
Yeah, so I don't remember how Kathy found me. I had a horse for sale that I had started for a client. She just wasn't a good fit for her program. And she was like, I will sell her to you if you want to find her a home. So I was like, I'll take her. She was a big, beautiful buckskin Mustang from Oregon. And I had her advertised and just wasn't finding a home for her, and I thought it was so odd that I had this incredible horse that I couldn't find a home for. And I think Kathy found me on Facebook and was like, "Hey, would you consider donating your horse to our program? Like, I know that's a lot to ask, but like, here's what our program is and what we offer." And I was like, oh, yes, come get her. Um, I have always had a passion and a soft spot for our veterans. I think that they are underappreciated and they're not taken care of in our society. They're literally laying down their lives for our country and then ending up homeless and struggling with mental health and suicide. Um, we're a military family. We're 5 generations military, or 6 now, I think. Um, my dad's a veteran, my grandpa's a veteran. I've got brothers in the Army and the National Guard. We are a military family. We support our veterans. So I always felt like I would at some point do some work supporting either a veterans organization, or doing that ourselves here at our ranch. So when Kathy reached out to me, I was like, that is, yes, I would love to work with you guys. I would love to support you guys. Because I think that horses really make a difference in people's mental health. I've seen it in my life, and I don't have, war trauma, but we all experience trauma in our lives, and horses can heal that. Horses can make a difference. I work in different things that I do in my career. I do work alongside veterans, Army Rangers and guys that have had some pretty horrible things happen to them, and they all ride horses. They all say horses save their lives. Um, so yeah, I was so excited to be able to partner up with Samson Strength. So they have Dasani, which is the first horse, and then I donated a second horse to them, I think last year, for somebody they were working with, and then they have a third horse that I trained that my client donated to them as well. Um, so I love to see what they're doing. I love to help their program. If we have horses that are a good fit, I'm like, "Hey, I have a horse, like, do you guys need another horse?" Um, I think we're going down there for a clinic in May, so that's super exciting. Just love being involved with what they've got going on. They've always been really kind to everybody here at Get Horsemanship and my whole team. So yeah, we love them. They're an incredible program, great organization. So,
Yeah, and this is a great time for anyone else who wants to contribute to seek them out and to do
yes.
donations. They're going to be in the Horses for Mental Health campaign where they're kind of working to build up their donations to make sure their horses are taken care of and they can keep providing
Yes.
those services. So, super great
Uh,
opportunity there for anyone who loves horses and appreciates veterans. It's a really good organization to support.
yes. Definitely.
Thank you so much for being here. I absolutely
Yeah.
love listening to your experiences. I so admire your like yes attitude that you're like, oh,
Oh,
I'm gonna
thanks.
go, across the world to
Yeah.
train horses. This sounds amazing.
Right.
So,
Right.
such a good example and like so much great advice for someone who's wanting to get into the world of horses and to
Yes.
learn. One thing that really stood out to me is like you're always learning. You're always taking advantage of opportunities to learn,
Yes.
and I think that is really a key with horses. Be open to that, open to learning new ways. Don't be stuck
Yes.
in the lane that you started in, because a lot of us did
Yes.
start where maybe we had these rules that you're supposed to follow and
Right.
always
Right.
commit to with horses. But there are so many good ways to have a life with horses, and appreciate the work you're doing. So many cool programs you're involved in, and
Yes.
definitely your heart for the Mustangs. They need all the help they can get from people who care about
Yes.
them.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much for being here.
Yes. Thank you so
To
much for having
end
me.
with, you tell everybody where they can find you, how they can take advantage of your services, what
Yeah.
you offer to the public.
Yeah. So I am on Facebook as Grace Thompson, and then Instagram and TikTok as Get Horsemanship. And that's gentle, effective, and thorough horsemanship. So GET. And then I also have a website. I offer clinics, demos, lessons, virtual lessons, and I am taking in client horses at the moment. So yeah, if I love to help people, and I have the same approach for people as horses. Everybody needs something different. And I feel like a lot of training programs are very like, oh, we train reining horses, or oh, we train ranch riding horses, or we do X. I'll do whatever you need. I'm happy to learn alongside you. I'm happy to help you find your passion with your horse. I always encourage people when they send a horse to me, let your horse tell you what he wants to do. Horses always have a knack for something. Some are liberty horses, some are ranch horses, some are mounted shooting horses. Let your horse tell you. Um, but yeah, so my website, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, reach out, shoot me a message, and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, definitely a great resource for people to take advantage of and
Yeah,
for someone who wants to help them build that partnership. So,
for sure.
thank you again for being here and for
Thanks for
sharing
having
all your
me.
experiences with us.
Thank you for joining us and learning about horses that heal and the humans who help them. We hope you'll continue with us on this journey. We'd love for you to subscribe on your favorite platform and follow The Touch of a Mustang on any of the major social media outlets. Please share with your friends, anyone who loves horses, or anyone who might be struggling and could benefit from this message. If you have felt the healing power of horses or help them in their divinely appointed mission, please reach out. We want to hear your story. As we say goodbye, always remember that the horse is always there to help you heal.